Welcome to this week's edition of Focus on Connecticut. I'm Tom Appleby, and with this edition, we begin our coverage of this election year. And we, as we do traditionally, invite area first selectmen and mayoral candidates to come in, discuss the issues in their communities. And we begin this year with the town of Weston. Let me introduce our guests to you. Nina Daniel is the Republican first selectman candidate. And Gayle Weinstein, Democrat. She is the current first selectman seeking a fourth term. Thank you both for coming
Thank
down.
you so much for
and
having
braving
us.
the traffic. Who thought there'd be traffic coming down from Weston to Norwalk? We appreciate it. If I were to walk into the Lunchbox, which is your local, I guess, diner in quotes, what would I hear people talking about? About the town, not about the coffee or the eggs in the morning. What would they be concerned with?
I think probably going door to door and meeting as many people as I can, and also this is my hometown of 50 years, so I put it in the perspective of 50 years.
And I believe your father was first selectman.
My father was first selectman, yes. I grew up at the dinner table hearing all the conversation about the challenges that Weston was facing, possible solutions, how people felt about it. I graduated from other colleges and universities, but I also graduated from the College of Home Education in these issues that deal with Weston. Today, I think we are most concerned about our taxes. I don't think that's just local to Weston. I think that is a broader issue that we're having in this state. But I know it's hitting home in Weston. So I am concerned about taxes. I also, of course, am committed to quality education. I'm on the school board. I just stepped down to run for first selectman. And I also have been an advocate for our seniors, looking for the more vulnerable people in our society at each end of the spectrum. And I'm on the Commission on Aging and founded a 501c3 called the Friends of the Senior Activity Center. These are what people really care about, their needs and their desire not to be priced out of Weston or out of the state.
I expect you don't have to go to the Lunchbox to hear these issues. They come to you.
Well, good morning, Tom. Thank you so much for hosting us. I think that these forums are really critical to get the information out to the public and that they can see the differences between the candidates and their choices. So I do want to thank you for hosting these. I actually spend a lot of time in the Lunchbox. My husband.
Point out, I think that's about it in Weston, isn't it?
Well, we have the Cobb's Mill Inn as well.
Yes, that's true.
And Peter's Market for
sandwiches.
sandwiches.
If you can get to it these days because the road is closed.
So let's promote all of our businesses. In fact, my husband and kids laugh because they get so much takeout from the Lunchbox during election season because I don't have time to make dinner. But I do spend a lot of time in the Lunchbox. And what I love about the Lunchbox is that it really is, it exemplifies our community. We have so many parents there with their young children who they're trying to feed, seniors who meet on a weekly basis for lunch or for coffee, and it really is a fantastic place. I do agree with Nina that taxes is something that's on everybody's mind, and that's why for 3 out of the 6 years that I was first selectman, I actually produced budgets that had the impact of lowering the town side of the budget overall. I think that's critical. Nina said that she served on the Board of Education in 4 years. She did not make one recommendation for budget cuts. And I think when we're looking at budgets and we're talking about taxes, we have to do everything that we can to keep Weston affordable for our people. I did during this past year bring forth to Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, as well as Board of Education, about $150,000 worth of cuts that could have been made to the Board of Education simply because of over budgeting on their part. And things like instead of budgeting $375 for computers, for Chromebooks that cost $250 in the store, they could have had a serious reduction. Those things like that are critical if we're going to maintain our low mill rate. So we do need to do a better job at trying to look for those efficiencies, look for those economies, and yet supporting the education budget as well as the town wherever we can. It really is vital. So what we're looking at now, which I think people are really talking about now, there is so much buzz and excitement right now about this new strategic plan that we've started. And this came out of our budget conversations. One of the Board of Finance members said to me during a meeting, we're having a problem with declining school enrollment, which is another big issue in Weston.
And not just Weston.
Exactly. He said, what are you going to do about it? So I thought to myself, well, I'm over 50, not going to be helping to increase the school enrollment by having more kids. Might be easier to do a little bit of a report, and that's what we did. We hired a land use consultant to come in, do a demographic study of what we're facing, figure out.
You know what, I want to, so we even time out
Yep.
here. We can get to the strategic report in just a moment.
Sure.
There was some comments there
yes,
about your
thank you so much.
participation on the board. So
Thank you so much. There are a couple of things first, and I did not expect really a debate, and I want to work collaboratively with you, as we have in the past and the future. The claim on your website and on your literature, and what you just repeated, 4 out of 6 years.
3 out of 6 years.
Okay, 3 or 4. What I have is the Board of Selectmen's budget actually grew. It was 12.4 million at the annual town budget meeting in April 2015.
Are you including the ground list growth and the revenue savings?
You say, what you didn't say, what you say is that the town portion of the budget.
Right, so you have our operating budget, you add our capital budget to that, then when there's the decrease in the debt service that you have to include, there's the increase in the revenue stream plus the increase of ground list growth. And that's been in all of my PowerPoints. I'm sorry if you're not understanding. I'm happy to go over that with you at another time. So essentially in 2010-11 there was a decrease of 1.59 cents. 11-12 there was a decrease of 12.46 cents. 12-13 there was an increase of 10.3 cents. 13-14 there was a decrease of 3 cents. 14-15 there's an increase of 8 cents, and 15-16 there was an increase of 10 cents. So overall in 6 years, the budgets that I produced had the impact of increasing the mill rate by just 13 cents over 6 years.
You're talking about the mill rate?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so the mill rate actually has increased 18%. I have the data right here.
Part of that is because of the reval. Remember, we had the reval 2 years.
I understand.
And 80% of the budget is the school budget. It's the school that's driving that mill rate increase, not the town side. In fact, I did bring a little chart, if we want to do a little show and tell.
Can I just ask you something before?
About,
hold on your chart. Go ahead, continue what you're saying.
So, in other words, here's what I interpreted, and I think the average person would interpret your claim to be, that you reduce the budget 3 out of 6 times.
Correct.
The town portion.
the overall town side.
All right, that's not very clear because there's a proposed budget and there's a actual spending. And in neither case did it go down.
Actually, it did. It did. Again, that's how I presented in the budget. And if you look through the PowerPoints as to what I've done, I've been consistent as to how I've presented that. And you can't just look at the town operating budget as one number in a vacuum, because then you get credit for the decrease in debt service, because our debt service has gone down dramatically.
Which was something that was put in place before your term began.
Well, actually, no, it was put in place because of the refinancing during my term. I'm not taking credit for that. That was Board of Finance who makes that decisions. But I certainly work collaboratively, both with the Democratic chair who's in place now, along with the previous chair, Jerry Sargent, who was Republican, in order to do that refinancing.
May I
the
ask?
increase actually came from the Republican, Woody Bliss before me, when we put in the school budget. Then we had about an 8.5% increase in the mill rate then. So you could really see the dramatic change.
Well, I'm going to have to defend Woody, who's not here right now. According to him, the decrease in the town debt would have been 2.5% annually. And because of some capital expenses and debt that were incurred during your term, instead of decreasing 2.5%, it's decreasing 1.5%.
No, that's not true at all, because we didn't put anything else. We did bond for the roof at the school, which you approved as well.
Exactly.
But no, it wouldn't have decreased by an additional percent. Absolutely not.
I'm not sure this is helpful to people to get into the weeds like this. And it is also, to my mind, I'm still going to say, since both the proposed budgets and the actual spending went up in the 6 years, that the way you have phrased it requires a lot more explanation, and the impression is not, it could be interpreted as being misleading.
I think you're a little confused, Nina, between proposed budget and actual spending. So actual spending, we have actually increased our reserve fund at the end of every year. In fact, this year,
that's a third
no,
item
it's not.
now.
When you're talking about actual spending, you have to look at revenue that comes in versus money that comes out. Okay?
No, excuse me.
So when
there's
you're looking at the
on-
total numbers, Nina, you have to look at both sides of the equation. So when I say that the total town side of the budget went down, That's how I've presented it every single year. That's been accepted by the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance. Board of Education budget, on the other hand, we have presented many, many opportunities for decreases in the Board of Education budget, none of which you spoke about. Not once did you advocate for one change. Not once did you advocate for out-of-the-box thinking that could have helped reduce that budget. And in fact, your first year in office, you actually turned to the technology director and said to him, if we gave you more money, what would you do? And I was like, oh my God, this guy's asking for a 10% increase and you want to add to that budget?
So go ahead,
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. This has not gone well. The allegations that she's making simply are not founded. The claims she's making are not founded.
This is your
For
opportunity to
instance,
respond.
we're not going to get into the weeds and confuse the public about all this stuff that you're saying on the accounting end. Another claim your literature looks like an endorsement of some of the things I've espoused, which is fiscal responsibility, and also seniors getting a fair shake of the deal. The school budget, just to respond to the attack on the schools, the school budget has gone up far less than the cost of living index, the consumer price index, because of the advocacy that I brought to the public through a group called Weston for Fiscal Responsibility.
That was formed to decimate the school budget.
That's a lie. Excuse me, Gayle.
Well,
I have the documentation. I'll be glad to forward it to you. It was a group that emerged in concern during the recession. So it started when I actually was having a conversation with the Democratic head of the finance, chair of the finance committee, at a social gathering, and I wasn't even aware of his position. But the situation had already become alarming in October of 2008. So in December we're talking, and he's expressing his concerns to me, and I'm expressing my concerns to him about people having financial troubles at this point in time. And we came to an agreement that it would be good if we could have a flat budget, at least for 1 year. I later found out that I was talking to the chair of the finance department. I have been concerned that since then about people being priced out of Weston. I have advocated nothing against the schools. I am myself former member of a teachers union. I have a great respect for our staff, our teaching staff, and that is not that is not the accurate, excuse me, I don't want to hear it again. What we did with Weston for Fiscal Responsibility, there were people who wanted to attack the schools. Under my leadership, I said, I will not be part of that. That would have made us a PAC to take a position on a school budget, town budget, a candidate for political office. We were not a PAC, and I said the only thing I would like to do is empower our citizens to decide for themselves what the proper amount of spending is and what they can afford. As a result, we petitioned for a machine vote, which would expand the opportunities for voting, more convenience, a greater accountability, privacy, and absentee ballots. That was the referendum, and that is what Weston for Fiscal Responsibility represented.
So which Nina...
And it disbanded 4 years ago.
So which Nina is the public going to get? Are they going to get the Weston for Fiscal Responsibility Nina, the whiffer who's looking for a flat budget? Are they going to get the Nina Daniel from Board of Education who did not make one recommendation for any sort of budget cut consolidation?
Answer that. When you want to finish, I'll answer that.
Or the Nina Daniel who's trying to support it all, because I've been in this job for 6 years. And as I said, we put forth very fiscally responsible years. And in fact, for three of those years, I'm talking, we did produce budgets that had the overall increase of reducing the budget. We've also quadrupled the size of the senior center, and that was a collaborative effort between me, the superintendent, and Phil Schaefer, our Board of Ed chair, who I think has done a fantastic job with promoting the schools and trying to work hard with them. We've gotten a lot of community support for a lot of the projects we're doing. We've gotten the LaShott Farm going during the storms. That's on the back of my mind with what we're doing. We've gotten the comfort station going. So everything that we've done during this time has been about community building so that we can keep people in Weston.
The issues that you brought up which am I, a spender or a fiscally responsible person? Because Weston for Fiscal Responsibility existed, my co-founder, a Democrat, suggested to Ms. Weinstein that she use in her campaign literature that she is fiscally responsible. I approved that, and I thanked you for that.
Well, I've always been fiscally responsible.
We are all on the same page, except right now what you are suggesting in town. The only difference is who's going to take credit for it. And I always thought it didn't matter. But if you are going to try to attack me the way you are as not being fiscally responsible, then I have to say that it's very nice, but it's not true. And on the school board, I have advocated responsible spending.
Give me one concrete example.
I'd like to finish. Responsible spending that produces tangible results. So the spending on the school board, as I said, has been far less than the consumer price index. The actual spending on the town
Give
side.
me one example that you have given to the Board of Education that's reduced spending.
You're
For
not
example,
the moderator here, please. May I finish?
You're not giving any concrete examples, Nina.
I have to respond to your allegations first, Gayle. The fiscal responsibility is shown by the fact that behind the scenes you have listened to me and gotten the message. The Selectman's budget also has been under the consumer price index. The Board of Ed has been even more so under the consumer price index increases. The truth of the matter is Weston can be proud of the fact that the message got across that we have to be more fiscally responsible in light of what's happening in the nation and in this state. That's the message you got and I sent. In terms of specific...
You're not taking credit for the way I think. You're not saying that you've been the one that's influenced my decision.
You put it on your campaign literature and I thanked you for it.
Well, Nina, we've always been fiscally responsible. I can assure you, dear, that David and I, when we were planning our campaign 6 years ago, we did not say, oh, let's take Nina's suggestions and form our campaign about that.
Actually, my co-founder wrote your campaign literature 6 years ago.
No, he did not.
Well, he told me he did.
Well, I can't help you with that, honey.
Let me just get to one other thing. Unfortunately, this does not show something that I wanted to reflect. I'm bipartisan in all ways. I have been a Democrat and a Republican. I am not looking to take credit for things. I am looking to help Weston. I do not have a political career in mind. I have not been here before. I want to serve the people of Weston, and I think because of my history, I am more aware when I see things being proposed that could lead us down the wrong path, that I want to step forward and stop that. I do not get in the weeds like this. I would not micromanage the school budget. It has been very difficult for the schools to have you micromanaging every single thing along the way.
Perhaps if they listened to me, there would be some reductions, such as the fact that they budgeted a 10% increase in energy fees when we knew that it was only going up a maximum of 1.8%. That could have saved the taxpayers $35,000.
Well, if you want to attack the schools, do that.
I'm not attacking the schools, Nina, but what I'm showing is you're claiming that I'm micromanaging when what I'm doing, which I am statutorily obligated to do by charter, and that's to make recommendations about the school budget. So I believe strongly in the work and the vision that the superintendent is doing. I do have to give a shout out to Dr. Palmer, who has done a fantastic job for our school district and is really bringing forth this incredible vision related to technology. But we have to do it in a fiscally responsible way. So if we can find ways to save money on those computers, I'm not telling her to purchase less, although I personally feel we have a lot, then we have to find ways to purchase less.
May I get to the big picture and move along?
But we are talking about the big picture here, because as you started out and said, you said taxes and budgets are everything.
I didn't say that.
The only way, well, you said that's what people are talking about in the lunchbox.
That's a different statement.
So if that's what people are talking about, and that's what people are concerned about, we must find ways to reduce those budgets that don't have an impact in our schools or in our town. That's the end of the discussion. I mean, that's really what we have to do.
Well, you've given some suggestions as to how it could be done. How would you?
Which specifically the school budget?
School or town?
School budget.
The
school budget. Before I left the Board of Education to run for first selectman, I made it clear to Dr. Palmer, who is an incredible administrator, and everybody knows I've supported her completely in everything she has done. She has been a gift to Weston schools. She also was on the short list to become the Connecticut Commissioner of Education. She also understands both the fiscal realities of Weston and the absolute need to maintain the excellence
I'm
of our
concerned about the
schools.
little time we have left.
Oh my goodness,
So
because I want to get to the
specifics.
big picture. There are a lot of things being proposed that may or may not burden our citizens with more taxes and more debt. They may not produce the results that Gayle hopes they will produce. We are now considering things such as a very large building, facilities upgrade in town to meet certain municipal needs. I have heard conversations that go on and on and on about how many bathrooms there should be in this building. The big question is, can we afford, and what can we afford at this time? The debt service will be dropping off in about 6 years. That may be a time to postpone all these decisions till we know what we can afford. Similarly, enrollment dropping in the schools may create other opportunities. The big picture is that the people that I meet in Weston are very concerned about the fact that they feel they want to live in Weston. They may not be able to stay in Weston. It has nothing to do with schools or age. It has nothing to do with the schools.
Let me give you a chance to respond to the municipal building and perhaps waiting on building that building.
Well, we've been looking into the need for a new public safety complex for many, many years, and we've been trying to work collaboratively with the Board of Education to try to consolidate space so that we can save operational costs at the same time. Unfortunately, the Board of Education, which Nina's on, would not allow any of the town facilities in the North House building. So we had to rethink.
That is a misstatement.
We have to rethink what our strategy is doing. This is something we've been working on for a long time, and the Board of Selectmen is going to be discussing tonight. So essentially what we're looking for is a plan to solve all of our facilities needs. It's not just about building a public safety complex. It's about finding homes for town and school employees that are in a temporary annex building for the past 10 years. It's about trying to find a permanent home for our senior center, which is in one of the schools right now with a 5-year memorandum of understanding. So 3.5 years from now, we're going to have to find another home for them or ask for a renewal of this MOU. So what we're trying to do is find a global solution to all of those needs. One of the reasons why we're looking to do this now is because we've built up the general fund, which is our savings account, to 16.4% of budget. What that means is that we can take 3.1 or 3.2%, I forget which number it is, out of that savings account and apply it towards this building. So that if we have a $10 million building project, for example, we only have to bond for $7 million. Particularly with, as you know, the new laws related to spending caps. Indebtedness and increased bonding doesn't count towards that 2.5%, so it may be a strategy that we have to talk about moving forward. The question is really about finding a global solution. One of the big issues that the schools have is that they need to make incredible changes to their middle school, which is an ancient building. So we're also looking to fit in, how are we going to fund those changes to the middle school so that we can keep our school system afloat? So with the system that I've proposed, debt service is essentially flat if you compare it from last year moving forward. And then when that tail falls off in 8 years, we'll have plenty of money then to fund the school projects.
I'll give you a chance to, I just want to point out, you mentioned a meeting tonight. We're taping this Thursday. So
I'm sorry.
The meeting isn't happening Saturday and Sunday
No,
when
it's
you're watching
not.
this
It's
program.
not.
Okay, go ahead.
So first of all, the Board of Ed did not say that town offices could not come into North House. The parents were very upset by your desire to put certain town offices in a school building where the elementary kids are.
It was not my desire. We were looking into it.
I have your writing, I have it, and you even said in a number of times that if the schools don't allow this potentially dangerous situation that would certainly, according to the police department, would increase risk to our children. This is post-Newtown.
Mike Ferrillo, Sergeant Ferrillo sent a letter saying that we can mitigate that risk. So let's be clear about this. Let's be perfectly clear about this. I have it in writing.
It's fine. Mitigation is one thing, but that does not remove what I said, the truth of what I said. By doing that, you are increasing risk, whether you can mitigate it or not, but you are increasing risk. I was on the board at Newtown. I can tell you, when you hear that coming across the news, it changes your perspective. The Board of Ed was defending the safety of our kids, and you have pushed and even said that the reason you have to bond $10 million is because of the Board of Ed.
Well, actually, Nina, if you attend our meeting tonight, you'll see that with the plan that I have proposed and that I have presented for approval, that Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance, by the majority of our boards, have approved by consensus, allows us to hibernate the North House wing at a savings of $101,000
I'm
to the
glad
school
you agreed,
district.
because that was my proposal
So-
too.
so-
I don't know whether you heard that, but before I left the Board of Ed, I said we need revenue sources. You disagreed with you. You thought I shouldn't be proposing that. I said that we should reduce staff, not teachers, if necessary.
What staff? What staff would you
Excuse me,
reduce?
I'm not going to get into the weeds.
Well, you know what, it's all about the details.
Excuse
It's great
me,
to say I'm going to
excuse-
make reductions, but if you don't
May I
have a plan
finish?
in place, Nina,
May I finish?
it doesn't mean anything.
May I finish?
Be my guest.
There are three ways: reduction in staff, reduction in facilities, which included hibernating North House, and the third one is revenue sources, which you told me I shouldn't be talking about as a member of the Board of Ed. It is in our strategic plan to to consider revenue sources. The big picture I want to get to, however, is what you just said about the 2.5% cap. I am concerned about local control over our schools, our taxes, and our land. My loyalty is undivided in terms of what will be best for Weston residents, which I think is local control. The 2.5% cap, which your friends in Hartford have put in, have three important exceptions. One is debt, which will encourage her to produce more debt because there's no cap on that. Two is arbitrated settlements, which will discourage people from negotiating. And the third one is special ed. Now, special ed is a particular concern for me. It's part of our vulnerable population. If special ed can have no cap, and my opponent recommends, endorses regionalizing special ed, that means that Weston's checkbook could be a blank check to the state.
We have
Not at
very
all.
limited time. We have 1 minute left. I'm going to let you respond. I'll let you begin. So go ahead.
Well, rather than respond, Tom, I think that we really kind of need to wrap up here and put this all with a little bit of a bow. I think that the public has really had the opportunity to see the differences between myself and my running mate. For 6
I hope
years,
so.
For 6 years, not only have I been able to say that I'm going to reduce taxes and that we're going to make sure that Westonites can stay in Weston, I've actually put plans in place that have actually accomplished that. So from reducing the budgets to quadrupling the size of the senior center to providing opportunities for empty nesters in the entire community to value Weston through improvements in the library, LaChat, I think that we really have made Weston a better place, and I hope to have that
Well,
opportunity
our budget
to
of
continue
time
that.
has run out. I thank you both
Thank
for
you very
sharing
much.
your ideas.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
it. Thank you
much.
for watching as well. Please stay tuned. News continues.